Greetings and salutations, and thank you for clicking on this video. I do appreciate it. What I'm going to show you how to do in this video is install the VirtualBox Guest Additions and VirtualBox video drivers into a Linux virtual machine that doesn't have a functioning video display. I mentioned having to do this with Ubuntu 17.10 in the video that I posted yesterday, and a couple of people said, oh, I'd really like to see how you do that. So I'm going to show you in this video. As of the recording of this video, Ubuntu 17.10 is in final beta, and when they moved from kernel version 4.12 to version 4.13, the video drivers didn't get reinstalled, so I had to do it manually. Before we get into doing that, I want to talk about a few little settings that you need to tweak to get decent video performance from a virtual machine running Linux. The folks who put together Oracle's VirtualBox, they kind of make it a little bit difficult, and there's some tweaks and hacks that I'm going to show you real quick just to make life easier. As of the recording of this video, this is VirtualBox version 5.1.28, so some of this may be addressed if you're watching this sometime down the road, but this is what it's like today. So I have created a dummy virtual machine here that we're just calling test, and if I go into settings and then I look at display, you'll see that we only have like 16 megabytes of video RAM. There is no hardware acceleration at all. This is how it comes up by default, and of course to get like Linux Mint with Cinnamon or anything with a GNOME desktop or KDE Plasma desktop, any of the major desktops, you're going to have to do better than this, or it may not work at all, or it will work terribly slowly. I think the people who develop VirtualBox think that those of us who run Linux in a VM are running mostly like headless servers with no graphic user interface, no desktop installed. So we need to beef this up. So what we're going to do here is go ahead and we're going to turn on 3D acceleration. But you'll notice that the highest amount of memory that they're allotting to us that we can give to the machine in the GUI is 128 megabytes. You can actually get more than that. You can take it up to 256, and I'm going to show you how to do that. You just have to do it from a terminal. 128 megabytes is just really not enough to run something like the GNOME 3 desktop or Cinnamon. They need more than that. And of course, most video cards these days have 2, 4, 8 gigs of memory. So they're a little bit behind the times on this. So I'm going to go ahead and click OK. I just want to make sure 3D acceleration is on. And then I'm going to show you how to go ahead and beef that up using the command line, because it's a little hack in the background that you can do. And this is the command that we're going to use to do that right here. And we go ahead and close this VirtualBox hypervisor. I don't think that it will interfere, but just to be sure, go ahead and close it up. And then we need to open up a terminal. And we'll make the fonts a little bit bigger for those of you who are watching on low-resolution devices. And we'll just copy this string right here. And I'm going to put this in the terminal. And I will put this in the description to the video. So the only thing that we need to do to take the video RAM to 256 megabytes is just put in the name of the virtual machine within those quotes. So whatever the name of your machine is, that's what you put in there. And then press enter. And you see that we got no output, so I'm assuming that it worked. We can go ahead and close our terminal and open up the hypervisor once again. And we'll check to see whether that took. So just go to settings and look at display, and yes, we have 256 megabytes of video memory. Now, for those of you who are wondering about taking a virtual machine and then doing a direct pass through to a video card, I've never tried to do that. That's not something that I'm comfortable showing you how to do. I wouldn't do that myself anyway, so I really can't help you with that. It's just sort of beyond the scope of a video like this. But it is possible if you want to take a virtual machine and give it dedicated hardware. I just personally don't know how to do it, and I'm not really interested in doing it because I run virtual machines for tests. But if for some reason you want to play a game on a virtual machine, that might be a cool thing to check out. So we'll go ahead and leave that where it is, and we can close this here, and then I'm going to show you how to manually install those drivers that we were talking about. So what I have here is Ubuntu 17.10 running in a virtual machine, and I have scaled this up to make it really easy to see, because usually when you run a terminal in a virtual machine, it's quite small. So that's why it kind of looks weird. And that's just, once again, for the folks who are watching on devices that have low resolution screens. So what we need to do to install the guest additions, we're assuming that this doesn't work at all. You may not get a display manager, or you may get the display manager and then you try and log into the desktop and it goes no way. Or you might be noticing that you don't have any 3D acceleration once your desktop is up. You might even be getting a message like with Cinnamon that's saying it's running in some sort of software rendering mode because it doesn't have access to accelerated memory. So what we're going to do is press your right control key, make sure your focus is on the machine, and then in the case of Ubuntu 17.10, the desktop manager actually runs on, or the display manager rather, which is GNOME display manager right here, actually runs on TTY 1. So we'll switch to TTY 2, and now you see that I have a terminal, and now I can hopefully install what I need to install. So let's go ahead and log in, give it my password. Okay, I'm logged in, I'm good to go. Now what I want to do is I want to insert the VirtualBox Guest Additions CD image. So if you have the latest VirtualBox there, and I think it's already in here. Yeah, I think it's already there. I've already done that in a prior take to the video, so we're good to go on that, but that's how you do it. Anyway, you want to make sure that you're using the guest additions that come from VirtualBox and not using the ones from the distribution. Sometimes that can cause problems if the versions don't match up. We're just going to do a manual install to make sure that works. And the way we do that is, first of all, we need to gain access to that virtual CD that we put into our little virtual disk drive. So to find out where that is, we'll do ls block, and you see that we have a drive here that's called SRO. That is our virtual disk right there, and it's not mounted anywhere at this point, so we actually have to mount the disk. Usually if you're running a graphic desktop, you drop a disk into the tray and then it detects it and pops up on the screen, or it's available through the file manager. In this case we're going to have to do it manually, but it's actually quite easy to do. So the command will be sudo and then mount, make sure I spell that properly, and then dev sr0, and where we want to put that is /mnt, which is a directory that is in pretty much every Linux distribution that is just for this purpose. It's to temporarily mount things to the system that we need to get to, and give it a password. And yep, it's mounted, so we're good to go there. So go ahead and clear this screen, so we're starting at the top. And so just cd into that directory. And then we can list it to see what's in there. And you see we've got a bunch of scripts on that disk. The one that we are interested in is VirtualBox Linux Additions. And to get to that, make it run, we will do sudo, and then we have to put a dot and a slash. That tells the system that we're running it out of this directory right here. So don't look anywhere else. And then we will just do this. I'm going to put in just about that much, and obviously I didn't do that right, so let's see. VBoxL is all we need to type, and then it'll autofill. So I'm going to turn this loose, and it's going to reinstall those drivers for me. Has to remove the old drivers first. If there are no drivers installed, this may go really fast, and you might think to yourself, wow, did that actually do it? Yes, it does. If there are drivers installed, like there's an old version that's not working, or you have the current drivers and they're messed up, and you're just reinstalling over top of them, it'll take a little bit longer. So that's done. So all we got to do now is just, we're going to go ahead and power this off. We don't have to worry about unmounting the disk or anything like that. That's why we're going to power it off. And then we'll open this back up. we can go ahead and, while it's doing that, we can put the view back to 100% so it looks normal. It's not so huge. Scale factor 100%. And we'll let this boot up. Okay. Go ahead and log in. Just make sure we get an accelerated desktop and everything. Oh, well, it was working before, so I know it's going to work, but I want to make sure that that Guest Edition CD is properly ejected from the system. And to do that, we just right-click on it and then click Eject. So there you go. That's how you do it, gang. That's all there is to it. I'm going to have the code from the little command in there, or you can look that up online. There's a bunch of those VBoxManage commands that you can do all kinds of stuff. You don't really need to have a graphic tool like this to manage these machines. You can boot them up from a command line, shut them down. You can do all kinds of stuff, so it's pretty cool. So I will have something in the description that goes through the commands that I just showed you. So there you go. Thanks for watching. Do check out Easy Linux on Facebook. Check out Easy Linux on the web. And also check out freedompenguin.com for lots of really cool stories about Linux. And thank you very much for the video ideas. It always helps. And I hope this works for you guys. Thanks for watching.